Welcome to Crafted Nest, a place where ordinary branches turn into extraordinary beauty. Today, we'll wander through simple ideas that you can create with your own hands. No machines, no rush, only patience and nature. Each design is more than decoration. It's a memory, a piece of earth reshaped into something gentle for your garden. We'll explore rustic arches, handmade trellises, whimsical lanterns, and little details that make your space feel alive. Before we begin, take a moment to press subscribe to Crafted Nest. By doing so, you'll never miss new inspirations, ideas that bring peace, charm, and warmth into your everyday life. Together, let's keep shaping gardens that tell stories. In the quiet rhythm of the morning, when the garden is still whispering its dreams to the sun, there's something magical about being greeted by an arch made of branches. Twisted, imperfect, but full of soul, this is not just a gate, it's an embrace. Creating a natural branch archway isn't just an artistic endeavor. It's a journey with nature. You begin by gathering fallen or trimmed branches, thick enough to hold structure, yet flexible enough to bend. Let them dry, but not too long. Use strong twine, wire, or even vine to lash them into a sweeping curve, anchoring the base deep into soil or hidden buckets filled with gravel. As you step back, you'll realize this arch does more than decorate. It frames your garden like a living picture, inviting anyone who passes to slow down, breathe, and wander inside. Over time, you can let jasmine or morning glory climb the frame, weaving fragrance and shade into its body. The beauty of this DIY project lies not in its perfection, but in how it belongs. No two branches are alike, and that's what makes it feel like it grew from the ground itself. Children might walk through it and imagine entering a secret realm. You, perhaps, might pause beneath it on hot afternoons and find a flicker of peace. This archway becomes part of your garden story, not mass-produced, but handmade with patience and weathered hands. In its shadow, you'll find that nature always welcomes you home. There is something deeply grounding about watching a plant reach for the sky, slowly, quietly, guided by your own hands. A rustic trellis made from foraged branches does more than support vines. It becomes a quiet sculpture in your garden. No hardware store visit required. Just your hands, some pruned limbs, and time. Begin by choosing branches that are relatively straight but still hold character. A knot here, a curve there. Lay them out in the shape you want. A classic, a frame, a teepee, or even a fan-like wall trellis. Bind them at intersections with jute rope or raffia twine. The charm of this piece lies in its imperfections. Once planted in the soil or secured with stakes, this handmade trellis welcomes all climbers, beans, peas, cucumbers, or flowering vines like clematis. And as they grow, spiraling upward, your creation comes alive. The best part? You won't just watch plants grow. You'll watch time move with them. A tiny sprout curling around the bottom today becomes a crown of green in weeks. The branches, weathered and bare when you built them, now glow with leaves, petals, and fruit. In the evening, as golden light rests on your garden, the silhouette of your trellis will stand like a memory etched in wood, a symbol of patience and growth. In a garden that speaks through silence, a twig obelisk stands like poetry carved in wood. Unlike a trellis that supports, the obelisk expresses. It reaches upward, not merely as a plant support, but as an artistic centerpiece born from patience and imagination. To build one is to create with rhythm. Start with 5 or 6 slender branches of equal length. Plant them in the ground in a circle and let their tops bend toward the center. Tie the tips together at the peak, forming a natural pyramid. Then, crisscross horizontal twigs along the height, tying at intersections to create a strong, lattice-like frame. The process is soothing, meditative. The result? A structure that feels ancient yet alive, as though the garden grew it itself. Position your obelisk where it catches the light. Let morning glory, sweet pea, or even cherry tomatoes climb its arms. Or leave it bare, a standing sculpture that marks the seasons. Rain will darken it, sun will bleach it. Moss may find home on its surface, but it only adds to the story. Unlike commercial frames, a handcrafted obelisk holds energy. You'll remember where each branch came from, perhaps a pruned lemon tree or a storm-fallen twig. You'll remember the day it stood tall for the first time. And every time you walk past it, you'll remember. Even the simplest things can rise beautifully when bound by intention. Before there were nails and lumberyards, there were fences made by hand from what nature offered nearby. A wattle fence is more than a border. It is a conversation with the land, soft, strong, and curved by your hands, not machines. Start with sturdy upright posts, planted deep into the soil every 30 to 40 centimeters. Then weave freshly cut twigs, willow, hazel, or even guava branches in and out, bending them between posts like strands in a basket. No glue, no screws, just rhythm and patience. As you weave, the fence begins to whisper of English cottage gardens, of ancient paths, of the beauty in imperfection. Every bend in the wood tells a story. Every knot and twist adds character. It holds soil in place. It protects your lettuce from the dog. But more than that, it frames your garden like a painting, anchoring your design with texture and shadow. Over time, the branches age to silver gray. Birds may perch on it. Moss might spread. And yet, it never loses its charm because it is born from the place it stands in. The joy of building a wattle fence is not just the result, but the making of it. You'll find your mind slowing as your hands work. And when you step back, you'll see more than a fence. You'll see your time, your care, woven into every line. In gardens where space is scarce but dreams still bloom, the walls themselves begin to grow. A vertical garden panel made from old branches is more than a space saver. It's a sculpture of life and reuse. You don't need power tools or perfect cuts. Just a bundle of branches, some twine, and a bit of vision. Begin with long sticks, stripped or not, and lay them out in a lattice pattern, horizontal and vertical lines bound at each cross with natural fiber rope. Don't rush. Let the branches overlap as they please. The result isn't a perfect grid. It's a living framework of texture and possibility. Hang this panel against any wall, brick, bamboo, or even wood. Then attach small planters, coconut shells, clay pots, or fabric pockets. Let mint drape over the edge, basil fill the air with scent, or tiny strawberries surprise you one morning. As the seasons change, so does the panel. Some plants fade, others bloom. Birds might nest nearby. Rain might darken the wood, and the sun will give it character. And when you walk past it in the quiet hours, you'll feel something soft and rooted stir in your chest. This is more than gardening, it's reclamation. You've taken what once lay forgotten under trees and turned it into something that gives life again. Imagine a seed in your garden, not bought, not polished, but born from branches you once gathered with your own hands. Whimsical garden furniture carries the soul of storytelling. Every twist in the wood, every knot or curve, holds memory. It doesn't match. It doesn't need to. Its charm lies in imperfection, in the fact that no one else will ever make a piece quite like yours. Start with sturdy, dried branches for the frame. Use thicker limbs for legs and armrests, then connect them with thinner twigs or reclaimed wood. Bind the joints with screws if needed, or go full natural with rope and friction fittings. Let your hands decide the shape. Let your garden guide the proportions. A chair built from branches will creak and shift slightly, like it's breathing with the earth. A bench made this way invites you not just to sit, but to pause, to feel the sun between leaves, to listen. You may add a soft pad, or let the wood carry your weight raw. You may place it beneath a fruit tree, or among the wildflowers. And one day, you may notice moss creeping along a leg, and you'll smile, because it means the furniture is alive. This is not just a DIY. It's a sculpture, a meditation, a declaration that you've made peace with nature and made a home within it. Sometimes, beauty is simply overhead, soft petals swaying, dappled light dancing across your hands, and the subtle creak of wood sharing stories with the wind. A pergola made from natural branches brings more than shade. It brings shelter for daydreams and an invitation to linger. Not a structure built for show, but for belonging. To create one is to lean into what the forest gives. Thick, sturdy limbs for vertical posts, longer, slightly curved branches for the roof. Bind them with strong rope or wood joints, honoring their shape rather than forcing symmetry. Let imperfections breathe. A notch, a fork, a twist. These are the fingerprints of nature. Once raised, plant passion flower, wisteria, or even grapevines at its base. Then wait. Slowly, the pergola becomes a living ceiling. Flowers spill over like waterfalls. Leaves rustle in the afternoon breeze. And the wood, once bare, becomes a cradle for green and color. Underneath it, a simple bench feels like a throne. A small table becomes a sanctuary for morning tea or quiet sketching. Children may turn it into a fort. Lovers may find quiet moments there. And you may simply sit, watching the vines stretch, as if reaching for something eternal. This is the heart of garden making. Not perfect geometry, but harmony. Not polished lumber, but branches that remember storms, birds, and sun. Not every garden needs grandeur. Sometimes, all it takes is a ladder made of twigs, leaning softly against the wall, holding little pots of life like stories on a shelf. The twig plant ladder is a quiet marvel. Built by hand, guided by instinct, it becomes a vertical garden, lifting greens and blooms to eye level, inviting us to look closer, breathe slower. To build it, collect 2 sturdy branches for the sides, long enough to lean. Then tie slender twigs across with rope, forming uneven steps. Let the knots show. Let the wood crack a little. This is a celebration of texture, not perfection. Once placed against a fence or wall, each step becomes a pedestal. A pot of mint, a jar of rosemary, a bowl of succulents. The ladder turns into a gallery of scent, color, and rhythm. It's not just beautiful, it's practical. It saves space in small gardens. It gives height to your design. It brings herbs within arm's reach and lets flowers spill downward like soft laughter. More than that, it becomes a presence. When the morning sun hits it, shadows stretch across the wall behind. When it rains, droplets rest on every joint, reflecting light like tiny lanterns. And in those moments, you'll feel something else. The joy of making, of reusing, of creating something meaningful from the ordinary. There's something grounding about a well-defined path, a guide through beauty, framed with care. Using branches to edge your garden walkway brings that grounded feeling closer. It's simple, elegant, and deeply satisfying. No concrete, no plastic, just wood, soil, and time. Begin by collecting branches, not too thick, not too thin. Cut them into equal lengths. 15 to 25 centimeters works well. Don't strip the bark. Let the textures show. Then dig a shallow trench alongside your path and press each piece upright, snug against the next. Tap them gently into the earth, one by one. The effect is magical. What was once just a trail becomes a scene. A border of miniature wooden soldiers standing watch. A natural frame that catches the eye and leads it forward. And as days pass, the wood grays with age. Moss may creep in. Little beetles might take shelter in the cracks. But it all adds to the charm, a living line that blends into the garden instead of standing apart. This project isn't just about edges. It's about intention. It's a reminder that care can live in the small things, in how you frame a footstep, how you honor a curve in the path. As the day slips into dusk, the garden changes its rhythm. The air cools, shadows stretch, And somewhere between leaf and light, the glow of a lantern begins to bloom. Creating a lantern from branches is like trapping a flicker of fire in a cage of wood. It's gentle, warm, and entirely handmade. There's no need for electricity, just patience, twine, and your love for quiet beauty. Start by collecting flexible twigs, willow, tamarind, or young guava shoots. Form a sphere or cube, binding each joint with natural jute or raffia. Inside, place a small glass jar or metal cup to hold a candle or LED tea light. Hang the lantern from a tree, a pergola, or a shepherd's hook. As darkness deepens, light the candle. Watch how the shadows stretch through the spaces between branches, how the flame breathes behind its wooden walls. It doesn't scream for attention. It whispers. And if you make more than one, perhaps 3, 5, 10, a path of stars begins to form in your garden. A trail for memory, for slow walks, for soft conversations. These lanterns are more than light sources. They are atmosphere. They are presence. They turn your garden into a sanctuary, a setting for moments that don't need to be captured, only lived. There are few things more timeless than a swing swaying in the quiet of a garden. It doesn't need music, only wind. It doesn't need words, only movement. A rustic garden swing, crafted from tree branches, brings a kind of peace that belongs to childhood and old age alike. Start by selecting 2 strong limbs for each side of the frame, thick, weathered, with bark still clinging. Let them cross at the top like an old campfire tripod, lashed with natural rope. Place a long horizontal branch across the top as the beam. For the seat, use a polished wood plank or even a woven panel of smaller sticks. Suspend it with jute, sisal, or marine rope and test for balance. Place your swing beneath a tree or beside a flower bed. When the breeze picks up, it will sway on its own, as if the garden itself is breathing. This isn't a swing for play, though it could be. It's a swing for pause, for reflection, for cups of tea held in silence, for afternoons when the light turns gold and you remember someone you once were. It may creak, it may tilt slightly, but it will never feel out of place because it was made by hand from the garden itself. There's a quiet joy in creating something small, something that invites wonder, not with grandeur, but with a soft whisper of detail. A fairy house, made from twigs and love, belongs to that kind of joy. It starts with a walk through your yard, a nearby trail, or under a familiar tree. Gather twigs that curve, that fork, that feel like roof beams and window frames. Let your eye wander not for size, but for character. Build the base with a circle of stones or a piece of bark. Then, like a child in a storybook, begin to assemble. Walls from twigs, tied or glued. A roof from leaves or bark. Add moss like a blanket, pine cones as garden pots, or tiny ladders from cut sticks. Place it at the foot of a tree, by a flower bed, or tucked into a quiet garden corner. Suddenly, your garden has a secret, a mystery, a spark. And the beautiful part? It's not about believing in fairies. It's about believing in play, in detail, in making something just because it makes you smile. Children will crouch to peek inside. Guests will pause, point, and wonder. You'll check on it like an old friend. Over time, it may weather. Leaves may fall inside. A bird might even steal from its roof. But all that only adds to the story. There is something tender about feeding birds, the way they pause, unsure but hopeful, before trusting your garden with their hunger. A bird feeder made from branches carries that tenderness further. It doesn't shout or shine. It simply hangs, waiting, offering. You begin with simplicity. For twigs, bound into a square. A base from coconut shell, a slice of bark, or even a reclaimed wood disc. Hang it from a tree limb using jute rope, and suddenly a small altar appears in your garden. You'll find joy in the quiet details, the sway of the feeder in wind, the tap of tiny claws on wood, the gentle flutters that follow. It's no longer just your space. it's shared. Soon, regular visitors arrive. A sparrow in the morning, a pair of doves at dusk. And with them, something changes in you. You start listening more, watching more, feeling more present. The beauty of this project lies not just in what it gives the birds, but what it gives you. Stillness, rhythm, and connection. You may find yourself adding to it a little roof, a second tier, a perch. But even in its most basic form, it's enough. Some entrances don't need doors. Only the soft curve of branches and a whisper of flowers. A gateway arch, handwoven from limbs and blooms, turns any ordinary garden into something sacred. Not because it blocks, but because it welcomes. To create one, gather thick, bendable branches for the base. Let them lean inward like bowed shoulders, then lash the tops together with jute or vine. Across the arch, add cross branches, smaller twigs, anything that feels like it belongs. Now, decorate. You don't need perfection, just life. Thread bougainvillea, jasmine, or morning glory through the gaps. Tie a small garland across the front. Let nature spill and hang as it pleases. This is not architecture. It's ceremony. When finished, walk through. Something shifts. The air feels lighter. The garden beyond feels more alive. Even if you've walked the path 100 times, the arch reawakens your attention. And for guests, it becomes a threshold, a quiet signal that they are leaving the world outside and entering something softer, something made by hand. Not all garden beauty grows from the soil. Sometimes it's framed on a wall, where branches that once fell forgotten now rise in quiet elegance. A branch art wall is where craftsmanship meets sustainability. It's where the discarded becomes decoration. And it starts not with tools, but with a walk, eyes open to shapes, curves, textures. Gather branches of different sizes. Let them be twisted, uneven, even split. Decide on your form, a sunburst, a fan, a flowing wave, or an abstract cluster. Lay them out on the ground first. Arrange, rearrange, and let your hands feel the balance. Once you see the shape take life, mount it onto a fence, a brick wall, or a wooden board using nails, wire, or natural string. Keep the knots visible. Let the rawness stay. As the sun moves across your garden, shadows from each twig stretch and shrink, turning your wall into a living canvas. Rain will darken it. Dust will soften it. Vines may one day join the art without permission. And it's not just for you. Visitors will pause and wonder. Children may trace the lines with fingers. Birds might land nearby. This kind of project doesn't just reuse. It reframes. It tells you that even what falls can still stand again, beautifully.